welcome to another episode of the 24th Floor. We're taping this on April Fool's Day, and we are joined with me, as always, my head man, main man in charge, is the predominant jokester of the newsroom, Ruben Diaz.
Yeah, and surprisingly, I don't have any April Fool's jokes.
I was just about to ask you, I just got in, so I know this is our resident joker right here.
Grizzlies are getting the number one pick.
That's not April Fool's. That's not yet April Fool's. That's not yet April Fool's.
They need it. But we'll talk about Grizz at some other point, some other time. Let's not waste the breath on it right now.
I was about to say, this guy, he don't want to be associated with anything Memphis Grizzlies basketball.
That's not true. I just don't love the state of the current NBA. But again, that is a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. I do like the Grizz. I just don't love the NBA the way it is right now.
So lately, in these shows, we've been talking about the NCAA tournament, and we'll touch on it, but it's a lot of people's favorite time of the year, and that's spring football.
Yeah, there's two football seasons, football season and spring football season.
So now you just kind of get those juices kind of going and everything, and so we want to kick things off with the SEC, especially because SEC is on ABC, and our resident SEC team is the Ole Miss Rebels. And now we get to our main topic, because you can't talk about Ole Miss without this guy.
Yep.
He's the host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, which you can catch right here on the 24 Plus app, YouTube, and anywhere you stream your podcast. Once again, welcome to the program, Mr. Stephen Willis.
It's football season. You can give him a clap.
Oh, yeah, the clap. Yeah. Hold on.
There you go, Stephen. You're ready.
There we go. I was waiting on the clap. I was wondering if he was forgetting about that, because it's kind of become a good luck thing.
Yes, it is a thing. And so I don't think people realize, diehard football fans definitely realize it. But if the team you support isn't that great at football, maybe you don't look forward to spring ball as much. But man, every big time program loves spring football.
Do you know who loves spring football this year more than any other?
Who?
And that is the Kentucky Wildcats, because they spent $20 million on a basketball roster for that.
Yeah.
So they're investing in football.
Oh, they won't make that mistake twice. Steve,
Yes.
talk to us a little bit about spring ball in Oxford. What have you seen so far?
Basically, social media clips, some quick highlight stuff designed to pump you up. The main thing I've gotten out of spring football so far is what Pete Golding said yesterday when he spent about 30 minutes with the media talking about how his plans for spring football are, the way it's come down, his discussion about the Luke Farrelly case, which turned out to be a much hubbub about nothing, essentially. But I think Ole Miss is in a really good spot. Pete Golding did have a catchphrase that has my attention, and that is where he says that this is the most deep team that Ole Miss has had since he's been there. That includes the Walter Nolan team, the 2024 team. Pete Golding was there for that. So if this is the deepest football team that Ole Miss has potentially ever had, I'll sign up for that.
Well, the expectations are high. I know, that's no joke about that. I mean, you're coming off of a playoff appearance, and now you're probably the favorite to win the SEC. So let's stay on the topic of Pete Golding. Something that kind of stood out to me was how he said he's kind of structured these practices kind of in an NFL style, which makes sense because a lot of these SEC guys, you expect them to one day play in the NFL. But I think it kind of speaks to the NFL experience he has on his staff with Joe Judge. What did you kind of think about that, seeing that how they're kind of doing it in 3 phases and stuff like that?
One thing that was pretty interesting about the whole thing is that, hey, we're going to start off with the weight room. That's going to be phase 1 to get these new players involved in what's going on and everybody up to speed. And then we're going to get to learn how to practice game speed, treat it like NFL OTAs, practicing in shirts and shorts, so you can have the game speed involved. And that's kind of the phase they're in now, essentially. And then they get to the contact phase at the very end, to where they basically teach how to work, how your game plan is, how game week is going to happen, even without having a game. I think it's pretty smart, Pete Golding kind of working this way, because with all the transfers and all the new players coming in, it can be a crash course in them kind of swimming, or you can kind of move everybody along as you go. Kind of a rising tide lifts all ships. And by the end of spring, you're going to have theoretically 105 players on your roster that all know what the expectation, the standard, and everything dealing with football is going to be before fall camp starts. Because we all know once fall camp starts, once August gets here, it gets real.
Yeah, it's in this generation right now, in this time of transfer portal and kids constantly moving, you don't really get the culture like you used to, right? Where your seniors set the tone for your freshmen, and then that's how they kind of learn. So I think you're right. Doing it in these phases is the closest thing to setting a culture that you can probably do in this current era of college football.
And they've done a pretty good job of retention and players not jumping into the portal. They're able to get freshmen and kind of bring them on for multiple years. Suntaran Perkins has been here 4 years. Will Eccles, this will be his 3rd year. Cam Franklin, this will be his 3rd year. LaDarian Clardy, who was a true freshman a year ago, got a little bit of playing time in the playoffs, and now he is going to be going for a starting position. In this era of the transfer portal and everything that's going on, Ole Miss traditionally has not been a school that has been overly hit hard by the transfer portal, even with a head coach leaving. And I think that is a testament to what Pete Golding has built and how they're building this program moving forward, because I do think some of those young, homegrown high school players are going to find themselves on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Switching gears now, let's talk about, obviously, the most important position in football, the quarterback. It was the first time that we got to hear from Trinidad Chambliss since this legal battle really kind of got underway with the NCAA. And maybe I'm reading it a little bit wrong, but I kind of took his first words as he kind of was running victory laps, but then also being kind of like gracious that it's for the most part is over. Looking at Trinidad, this is now the first time he's entering a camp with Ole Miss where he knows he's the unquestioned guy. He was, obviously last time he was the backup. So what do you think that kind of speaks for him, knowing that this is his team? And what do you think his ceiling is to kind of like take over and really, plant his flag that he did make the right decision to come back to Ole Miss?
Yeah, I guess we kind of buried the lead there. Trinidad Chambliss is going to be the starting quarterback for Ole Miss. Pete Golding announced that in his meeting as well. But no, I think that it shows that A, Pete Golding and everybody knows that Trinidad can handle it. B, he was 8th in the Heisman Trophy voting, so who are you fooling anyway by any type of a competition? And Trinidad stepping up, getting outside of his comfort zone, as he said in the press availability, that he wants to be more of a vocal leader. That's not really his style, but he wants to get out of his comfort zone a little bit for that. And all of this is in preparation for him to go to the NFL. And everybody's going to say, well, why didn't he go this year? Well, the answer is he didn't think he was ready. He didn't think he was there, because the reality of it is you can go into the draft after your 3rd year, but that doesn't mean you're going to stick. He wants to give himself the best opportunity to stick. And I think that he thinks Joe Judge is that ticket for that. He mentioned in his press conference that he kind of asked, like, hey, what did Tom Brady do in situations like this when you were in New England? And Joe Judge would explain that. And you can see that the mental part of the game, Trinidad is really trying to embrace the mental part of the football game to give an advantage for somebody that's 5'11", 6 foot tall. He's on the underside of the height. He's not going to be a combine superstar for his measurements. But if he can have the mental background, he can know how to play the game with all of the tools that he does have, he gives himself the best opportunity to stick.
That's very interesting, the way you put that, because I was thinking the same thing earlier, was that when you're talking about Chambliss, his playmaking ability is what really kind of stands out. Well, that doesn't always show in the combine, right? So you get your NFL grade. To the question of why he didn't leave, he probably got an NFL grade that he didn't like. He looked up at the grade and said, okay, I could get a better grade than that if I do X, Y, and Z. And then to have that tutelage, basically, from the NFL side, I do think you're right, but I also think that this year can also be the year where he kind of proves it wasn't, I'm not going to use the word fluke. Yeah, it wasn't a one-hit wonder. I didn't just come in as the backup and have a great year. You've got a year of film on me, and I'm still going to go do what I got to do.
Still that man. Well, let me kind of continue going with this just to kind of go to Ruben's point. Trinidad, I know we talked about this when it initially happened, but with Trinidad, you look at this quarterback class and you're looking at who they're talking about now, Fernando Mendoza and now Ty Simpson. But other than that, there aren't really any quarterbacks that jump out at you that's in this draft class. So I was kind of more in the thing that.
You're not going to Vandy? You're not getting no boy from Vandy?
No, Javi,
don't get Fabio.
Javi is going to be playing he's going to be a CFL quarterback. He'll be in Canada, you know. But anyways, so I looked at Trinidad and I'm like, okay, you look at this current quarterback class, he's really better than a lot of these guys except for maybe Mendoza. And then you kind of go back and look at what was the guy from Ohio State, blanking on it, Cardale Jones, and how he lit it up. And, you know, there was a talk about him going to the draft, and he came back, and then he came back to Ohio State, and he ended up not being that. That's where I'm kind of fearful for Trinidad. But when you explain it like y'all have, like being under Joe Judge, because you have that guy who was an NFL head coach, it's a very tricky slope that Trinidad is playing if he wants to be an NFL quarterback, because I obviously think next year's class will be way better than this current class. So I don't know, but I'm rolling with Trinidad because he wants to go out and show that it was no fluke and he is that guy. But I mean, if you look at it just from between all the three of us, it's like, well, he'll be $1 million richer no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Than if he went to the league.
So, Steven, I want you to comment on all that real quick, but I'm going to give you one quick antidote to that. Is that the measurables, which you mentioned, Steven, he doesn't excel at the measurables. So trying to go to the NFL when your measurables don't hit the mark, the Mendoza mark basically, means you have to bring something else. And Steven, to your point, I think that's why he decided to come back, was to do all the other things to offset the measurables.
Because everybody needs to know when it comes to stuff like this, the goal for anybody going into the NFL draft is a second contract. The second contract is what the actual goal is. Getting drafted is great, but if that is your ultimate goal, if you just want to play in the NFL, they are going to send you packing pretty quick. If you want to stick, if you want to, for lack of a better term, have a Ryan Fitzpatrick career to where you're around for 10, 15 years, you need to have the mental part of the game and ready to go, especially when you are 5'11", 6 foot tall. If you can get the Drew Brees, if you can Drew Brees it, for lack of a better option, to where you have the mental part of the game and know how to cut the corners you need to cut and you need to play the game the right way, you're going to stick around because he has the talent. He can make the throws. We've all seen that. We just have to realize when he plays against teams that force a smaller window, what is that going to look like? Because at that point, defensive recognition and stuff like that is so important.
Yeah, and the way the NFL masks coverages is different than college football. And so if you see a deficiency, we'll use the word in reading coverage, especially pre-snap or immediately post-snap, that post-snap first step read is really, really important. And the NFL, they do such a great job of disguising and masking those things, dropping linemen into coverage at times too, that you don't necessarily see in college all the time. So I personally think that Trinidad is making a great decision by coming back. He's going to get his money at Ole Miss no matter what.
That's the main thing.
And then he gets to improve his draft stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, and it's not that he doesn't see the coverage, it's maybe that he just wants to see it a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the margins we're playing with.
Yep.
There we go. That is what I've kind of got around to, because you can scheme around that. I mean, look at the guy. There's short quarterbacks who are thriving in the NFL right now. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield, starting quarterback for the Bucs. Kyler Murray. Now I know he's not with this Arizona anymore, but he's going to be the starter in Minnesota. He's going to be out.
Baker's not too different than Trinidad was last year.
Yeah,
right?
He's the comp. He's the comp.
Yeah, they're not too different, except Baker has a whole lot more attitude / personality than Trinidad. Trinidad's a lot more chill.
I think if you put Trinidad in the game right now, he would do okay. But to Steven's point, and I'm glad he verbalized it better, is seeing those coverages quicker. Like, I think that Trinidad could start an NFL game right now and do pretty good for himself. But being just tight on everything, coming back is important. So obviously this is going to be something that we track all season long. But, I mean, obviously this process started with spring football day one.
Yeah. Has there been any, and I know we're just getting rolling, any major transfer portal kids that we need to be knowing about that we haven't discussed yet that are heading to Oxford?
Are you talking about basketball or?
I prefer to talk football, but we can talk basketball.
No. You're talking about the portal kids that are on campus now.
Yes. Anybody there that we haven't talked about yet that it's like, hey, this is a guy we got to watch out for.
Yeah, Jonte Cook, who was a top 30 player when he came out of high school, was an Under Armour All-American. He's one of two players that I went to the Under Armour practices and just walked out just completely wowed after watching him. The other was Zach Branch, the player that went to Georgia. Jonte Cook struggled a little bit at Texas, a kind of maturity thing. Ended up going off to Syracuse, New York, kind of didn't have a quarterback, still managed to have like 50 catches, about 500 yards. He's kind of become an alpha at Ole Miss. Caleb Cunningham, who is not a transfer portal player, has a chance to be the Deshaun Stribling type football player for this Ole Miss offense. He was a 5-star out of high school in Mississippi. He's a really good player. The wide receiver room is worth paying attention to. I think Tommy Kinsler, the transfer from Miami at offensive tackle, it'll be interesting to see if he lands in the starting lineup as this moves forward.
Always some interesting Ole Miss guys, because who would have known that it was going to be Deuce Alexander who was going to end up being a star until like last year. So that's what we will always say is Steven is a kind of a guy like myself. He likes looking at these guys at the beginning to be like, hey, I knew about this guy from the jump instead of jumping on the bandwagon. We always appreciate this, Steven. Before we let you go, as always, tell the people what you're working on.
Well, real good. I'm still taking a victory lap because even during the recruitment when Deuce Knight was committed to Notre Dame, I said he's going to end up at Ole Miss. It's just a matter of when. And sure enough, that happened. But it's all spring football. It is college baseball and the basketball transfer portal. It's about a week away.
I was going to say it's getting ready to open.
That's going to start going. Yeah, so we'll be talking about that on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
That the basketball transfer portal is probably going to be the craziest thing in recent history because there's so many kids already announcing.
Yes.
Yeah, Ole Miss got Ilias Kamerdine is coming back to Ole Miss. That's been announced.
I'm not surprised about that.
I don't know that he had the kind of year that he could make any more money going anywhere else. You know what I mean?
Well, he could have hit the portal potentially. And this is a guy that played professional basketball over in Europe, so I guess he could try the NBA thing. But Chris Beard needed to get him back.
Yeah. Steven, as always, we appreciate your time, and I'm glad you kind of said the word for us about college basketball and everything, because that's what we're going to talk about in our next segment. But we got to take a quick break. Steven, as always, thank you for joining us, my friend. We'll be back with more 24 Floor after this.